hoping to find innocence there, but always returning to the dread that set inside her when the Polaroid first processed in the car, in front of her eyes. And the things the photo doesn't show, the monster that she still sees plain as day, as if it's a third subject in the composition. How it looms around Lulu, hovering like an aura. She doesn't need to possess the photo to see it all.
And we may never know who owns it now, thanks to the anonymous sale.
Gary brings her back to now, and Quinn swallows hard, her dry throat clamping to itself. She wishes she had a glass of water.
It has an almost mythical status, seeing as it hasn't been seen in quite some time. Would you tell me about that?
She shifts a bit, unsure of how much she wants to say, then leans in toward him. When I first exhibited it, it was all anyone could talk about. I didn't want it to be the thing that I became known for, but I could see that was rapidly happening.
And so you gave it to Billy Cunningham?
Gary watches her as if he knows he's just treaded into landmine territory. I did. Quinn takes a deep breath. For safekeeping. I always refused to allow it to be for sale, even though it would have helped me financially. And there were some hard times back then, really hard times. I was worried about what I might do, if I might get desperate enough to sell it. I told him not to let me do that, and I knew he wouldn't, but then... She trails here, because she won't talk more about this. And she doesn't need to, because it's well known what happened next. She tries to put the lawsuit with Miles out of her mind, the endless arguments about ownership and rights and estates, the things she never wanted to have to fight about, especially not when she had just lost the love of her life. Gary nods, and his eyes squint in contemplation.
Do you still think about Lulu?
Quinn tries to hide her disappointment in this question, but then realizes that even though Lulu's part of her DNA after all these years, she's an invisible part, like an extra organ tucked deep inside of her that no one else could possibly know about. Her words come out husky when she says, "Yeah, of course I do." She clears her throat to gain more control. It's been almost 40 years since I took that photo, but I've never stopped thinking about her. Now she'd be like 50. I wonder what her life is like, if she's still alive, married, kids, you know?
In your later series, you followed your subjects for long periods of time. Did you ever think about going back to shoot more of Lulu?
I did think about it. Quinn doesn't offer more, doesn't say that she tried, and surprisingly, he doesn't ask. She wonders if he can see inside her now, can feel the edges of that aching appendage as it pulses throughout her. She's relieved when he shuffles his small notebook in a gesture to move on.
Your work is often discussed in the context of the downtown arts scene. You certainly chronicle a special movement in New York City's history. Many of your friends who appear in your early work became equally well-known artists, writers, performers, and the like. Liv Brown, Mickey Hart, Alex Campo, Miles Wainwright, and of course, Billy Cunningham. You followed them for years, and it's a delight that we get to see them grow up in these images. And then you stopped, which felt abrupt to many of those who were following your career. What happened?
Well, I started doing more time-based thematic series, as you noted. But I never stopped taking photos of my friends. I just stopped showing them. Quinn doesn't elaborate on why. Anyone who was even kind of paying attention could figure that out on their own.
Do you miss the New York of those days?
She's been asked this before, and she wonders how old he is. If he's lived long enough to watch something disappear only to reappear as a stranger. She's never sure how to answer cleanly, simply, because there was nothing clean and simple about that time. I don't know, she finally says. That New York is long gone. I mean, it was a free-for-all, like, people doing anything they wanted, which can be amazing, right? But also dangerous. New York was coming out of near bankruptcy when I started my career. There was so much need.